Hello, to another fight, I guess preview or prediction. It could even be a review. So this is for the Adrien Broner vs Mikey Garcia fight, which happened last Saturday. So like I said, last Saturday, Mikey Garcia and Adrien Broner scheduled off at Light-Welterweight for the WBC International Light-Welterweight Championship. Going into the fight, I didn't do a prediction as I've run out of time, as I've been busy, and I haven't currently at this time watched the fight itself. But I've read a fair few reports, and I've also listened to a few podcasts about the fight as well, and some I've seen a few highlights, but not the actual full fight. And what I can gather is Adrien Broner, once again in a big fight, didn't turn up for whatever reason, if it was fitness or personal life, or it just wasn't up for the challenge. Mikey Garcia just did a really good solid performance, outworking Broner for the majority of the fight. I did hear from majority of the reports I've watched and read that round 9 was Adrien Broner's best round, as he let his hands go a lot more, whereas in the previous rounds and the rounds after, he's just a shell of his sort of previous self, as Adrien Broner normally throws a lot of combinations, and he uses his speed to his advantage. So this video is more about Adrien Broner than the fight itself. I mean, where does Adrien Broner really go next? I mean, he's had 3 losses now, and 3 of those losses against Marcus Maidana back in 2013, Sean Porter back in 2015, and now Mikey Garcia, which obviously most recently was last weekend. And those 3 fights are 3 big names and big fights, and they had a lot of the first one he lost to Marcus Maidana, that was back in 2013, as I said, for the WBA welterweight title. That was a big fight in itself, and there was a lot of trash talk for Broner to Maidana back then, and obviously he got it beat quite easily, and obviously he thought he learnt his lesson back then. He had beat a few people, fought Sean Porter, lost again, then he come back, beat a lot more people, then lost to Mikey Garcia. So I'm not sure what happens next. I mean, he is a good fighter. I mean, I know belts and rankings and catchweights are quite frequent nowadays. A lot of fighters can claim they've won world titles in multiple world class weight divisions, and which is correct. Adrien Broner technically is a 4-weight world champion, but he hasn't really beat anyone sort of like a top quality fighter to win any of those world titles. I mean, back in 2012 when he beat Antonio DeMarco for the WBC lightweight title, I mean, that was a good win, but Antonio DeMarco he's a good fighter, but he's not, I wouldn't say he was the best lightweight at that time, because if you look at it, Adrien Broner has always gone against sort of the lesser people, and of course, like I just said, his bigger tests he has lost. So what happens next? I mean, he could go back down to I guess lightweight, or I guess say like welterweight. He's got options, but like I said previously, he's got a good record, and he's a good fighter, but like, how good can he really be, or does he really want to be? I mean, like, he's gone against good fighters and he's lost. So is he going to be known as someone who's just gonna beat lesser fighters, build up another like sort of 4-5-0 after this current loss, then get beat by maybe someone who should really be beaten, and lose again, and sort of do like a circle? Because if he's won 4 world titles in 4 weight classes, which he has, I mean, I know sometimes you can go for 5th or 6th, or win another world title in the same weight class to achieve new goals. But if I was Adrien Broner, I would just work on being 110% dedicated to the sport if it's possible, going against a few lesser fighters to get his confidence back, and actually dedicating himself in a specific weight class. None of this catchweight stuff, which I think is just silly anyway. It doesn't matter who the fight is for. I think it's just bad ideas, catchweights. I think he should, like I said, go against some lesser fighters just to get some confidence back, and then dedicate himself properly. And if he actually gets a bigger fight, he needs to actually dedicate himself the correct way, the professional way, and actually, because I think he can beat some good fighters out there. I'm not saying he's going to be the #1 pound for pound best fighter in the world like he wants to be or wanted to be, Because, I mean, let's face it, if he's getting beat by Marcos Maidana, Sean Paul and Mikey Garcia, not saying they're bad fighters because they're all good, solid fighters, but he was seen as the next Floyd Mayweather, which obviously is a term thrown about quite loosely, which is not really fair on these sort of fighters. But I do think Adrien Broner can bring more success to himself in his boxing career, but it just all depends on how he actually performs in his upcoming fights. I did write a question on Twitter the other day saying, why is Adrien Broner always poor in these big fights, build up his record, should he retire? I mean, of course, if he retires, I mean, I think he's like 27 years old, maybe 28. It'd be a shame for him to retire because he is a good fighter. I do like watching him fight. I watch his fights against Maidana, Gavin Rees, Antonio DeMarco, Sean Paul. So he's an exciting fighter, and it'd be a shame if he did retire now because of his losses or other things going on in his life. But for example, if we look at the welterweight division, say if he was going to stick at that, there's a lot of fighters in there. You could go for the rematch with Sean Paul, Danny Garcia, who just currently lost, Amir Khan. I mean, there's obviously also, I know this is a stretch to say this, but Keith Thurman, who's WBA and WBC welterweight champion. You've got IBF belt holder, Errol Spence. So I mean, I know they're like stretches, and even Manny Pacquiao, Jeff Horn, WBO champion. I know these are probably the wrong weight class for Adrien Broner to be campaigning that, because when he was at welterweight before, back in 2013, he had a couple of fights there, as you know, but he wasn't really like anything special at weight class. Of course, like welterweight is probably his best fit just because of the weight, but even there, obviously, like I said, he's now lost it to Mikey Garcia. I mean, people call for a rematch. If you get beat that easily, that comfortably, like Garcia did to Broner over the weekend, there shouldn't really be a need for a rematch. Maybe down the line, if Broner improves his performances and Garcia is still going on this ridiculously good unbeaten run. For say if Garcia wins a world title in the lightweight, maybe unifies the lightweight division, comes up to 140 for good. So if he wins a belt there, maybe down the line, because who knows, because they're both big names and they do carry not massive amounts of pay-per-view I guess greatness, if you want to call it like that, but they are two big names and they are two good fighters at the end of the day. Regardless of Adrien Broner's lacklustre performance over the weekend, he's still a great fighter. He's got good speed, he's got good body when he's in the mood for it, he's got good hand speed. The power can be up for debate, it depends what weight class he's really in. When he's at super featherweight and lightweight, of course, a long time ago now, he looked exceptionally strong because the hand speed combined with the power looked great. Of course, normally if you put on weight, sometimes the power can go, but that's just obviously happens to some fighters. But he's got the talent, but of course sometimes if you haven't got the dedication or the heart, then sometimes you're not going to make it as a boxer. And he's done really well up to now. But like I said, he's fought against weak opposition for his world titles, and he's also beaten lesser fighters, but when he's got the bigger test, he's always failed. So, I mean, what happens with Adrien Broner is all down to him. I think he should take some time out and decide what to do next. Mike Garcia, I mean, another good performance by him. I mean, there's options for him as well. He could go back down to lightweight. I mean, he's got options. He could defend his belt. People are calling for the Lomachenko fight. That'd be an interesting fight if that could get made. I think Lomachenko is the WBO featherweight title holder. So he's nearly there. I think he's super featherweight. I could be wrong, but if you look at those sort of in and around those sort of weight class and same fighters, there's good matchups to get made. But it all depends on the matchmaking. And people say Garcia could go up to like welterweight permanently and face likes of Terence Crawford, which could be a good fight. But I think Terence Crawford, when he probably should beat Ndongo for the light welterweight unification fight upcoming, I do see him going up to welterweight and maybe challenging some of the champions up there, which I think is the betterment for him. It's just in terms of I guess weight and maybe better challenges up in that division. Whereas the light welterweight, if he beats Ndongo, which he should do, like I said, he'll be the undisputed light welterweight champion. Technically, there's no challenge left if you've got all the belts, because you're seen as the best fighter in that whole weight class. But you never know, he might decide to go against Mikey Garcia. But good performance by him again. Robert Garcia deserves more credit, because one podcast I listened to the other day did say he deserves more credit. which is true. He's coaching style or ability does go under the radar sometimes. The likes of Virgil Hunter and say Freddie Roach, for example, get a lot of the limelight when their performances haven't been that great recently. But it's still a great performance nonetheless by their whole team. Adrien Broner, it's a shame he didn't bring more to the table because it could have been a great fight. It looked like a really one-sided fight, the highlights I have seen and from the reports and videos I've listened to and podcasts. So this has sort of been like a sort of what's next for Adrien Broner / Mikey Garcia / like a sort of quick summary of the fight. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of the fight and what Adrien Broner and Mikey Garcia should do next. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next video.